We're going to do a reserve study this year, which we do an engineering study every 3 years. I expect that number to actually go up because as we put the athletic complex in place, you know, we're going to go from this, we're spending money to put things in place to where we need to spend money to maintain them. So I expect that there, but we've got a good cushion to take that. When I look to the future, we got 1 synthetic turf and we got 2 natural grass. I think at some point we're going to end up deciding that we need 2 synthetic turfs and 1 natural grass or something, because at the end of the day, you spend an awful lot of money redoing these fields constantly, so it becomes a financial exercise there. But once again, we are strong financially. We've been going down this repeatedly. We thank everybody for their contributions and their questions and everything, but it's working very well.
Any questions from the board? Okay, turning to Steve, management report.
Okay, I will start the management report with an update on the athletic fields, and we have a nice little flyby here that I can show the audience. So as we're flying in the CBD buildings over here, this is the new Lot D that's been acquired. It's being cleared out right now for additional parking and future use as an asset here. You can see work taking place on this is the parking lot area here, and then this is the concession restroom buildings. This is the concession area, storage, restrooms, and then 2 meeting spaces here. Then you get a sidewalk on this side, 2 additional athletic fields that will be natural turf. And as we come down, there's a sidewalk rolling all the way through. There's nets that divide each one of these athletic fields. This is the synthetic turf field. All of this right here is the infill that will go into the field here. But the carpet is down, and you can see they're laying in all the lines for the soccer and the lacrosse. And then what we take a lot of pride in, the beautiful celebration logo here in the middle. This is the end of the facility with a big turnaround here for fire trucks if they need to, and then possible future growth down here at the very end. So a very cool little video there. Oh, and look, it turns back around, and now we can see it from the other direction. So I do have an update though as of today. The natural sod here, there's a problem with Bermuda 419 TIF, which is required for athletic fields. It's gonna be the best Bermuda sod for the wear and tear on the athletic fields. There's some fungus in the roots of the 4 different sod farms, so they're looking at other options. It's a possible delay in this based on making sure we get the right sod and it's healthy. But we'll know some more information by the end of this week on whether or not they can get it where they're supposed to get it and get it down on time. But if not, there is a possibility of a delay, so I want to throw that out there. But we got to have the right sod down there. So I know Todd has reached out to Yellowstone to see if they might have some providers, and we're just looking at a couple different options to make sure we have the right sod. So
if the sod were to be defective after it were put down, what kind of a guarantee or replacement do we have?
Well, the guarantee for the contract states that it has to be in healthy condition when they turn it over to us, and then at that point there's so many variables that could take place. So if 2 weeks later something happened, it could be because it didn't get the right fertilizer, didn't get the right water, all kinds of different options. So what we need to get is good healthy sod when it's turned over to us. And they had an option of a different kind of sod that they could put in. It would look beautiful when it's turned over to us, but it's not going to hold up underneath the wear and tear of the usage. So we said no. I said no. I'd prefer to just wait. It's worth, even if it's a slight delay, to get the proper sod there.
So are you the person that reviews that product before it gets put down, or is there some other outside expert that we've gone to?
It'll be signed off on by the engineer, Mark, and it'll be signed off on Danny Bumpus also as our owner's representative. But myself, Todd, the committee that meets bi-weekly, will walk it. There's a architectural engineer or landscape engineer also that will make sure all the plants are the way they're supposed to be. So there's multiple people that are involved that are under contract to sign off on it.
And to make sure that the sod is healthy.
Right.
When it's
yeah,
installed.
and the landscape, and they just did soil samples to make sure that the soil's fine and in good condition. So those will be coming back before they put down the sod. So there are multiple checks and balances before we'll make the final payment on the facility. So any questions on the athletic field?
Timelines, what are you roughly thinking now?
Well, April 1st is the timeline that we're looking at for the fields in the synthetic turf field. June 1st is still the timeline that they're giving us for the building. just because of the requirements for it. The masonry that you see going up is pretty quick, but it's the requirements for the detailed stuff on the building. So June 1st is the timeline that they're looking at. It is possible that it could be done before that, but on the safe side, they're still saying June 1st for that.
And when,
The parking lot will be part of the April 1st opening.
And do we
And then
have
when-
any groups, organizations, or activities scheduled in April for those fields?
We met with soccer group like last week, I believe, and floated the idea of an April 6th opening. And it's something that we're looking at, a possible grand opening on April 6th, to where we can do the ribbon cutting and then have all the groups go out and begin their first day of play on the fields. And the turf, as long as it comes in on time, will be perfectly healthy by April, because it'll have a good 2 months to take and get in the condition it needs to be in. The synthetic turf field will be ready just as soon as they're done with it. Okay.
it's not obvious from here, but we're gonna have security fences around all of this and everything, so it's gonna be, explain it a little again, we've got a big
Sure,
audience.
the facility will be fenced in. It will not just be a walk-on facility. It's going to be by reservation. And it will have some cameras installed throughout the facility to keep it secured. But we'll open it in the morning, we'll lock it back up at night.
Thank
And I
you.
know the Recreation Committee is working on the usage and the fees and the structures and all the things that are ancillary to making this work,
Yeah,
right?
and I'm gonna be meeting with them on Monday also, of next week, to give them an update and have that conversation with them.
Great, thank you.
And I think there was.
We don't do audience
Okay.
comments at this point.
Okay.
We can talk after the meeting or
Okay.
on the comment.
The next item I have then is the county agreement for the $2.1 million. I dropped off the set of plans to the county yesterday, so they have all the plans, they have the agreement. I asked them for an update. They're still on track for February 18th, I believe, is their meeting for the change of the ordinance and for the approval of this agreement. So if I hear anything different, you'll be the first to know, but right now it's still on track for February.
So we have signed off on that, and the county also had to do an ordinance change so that we would qualify to receive funding.
Correct.
And those are to be voted on February 18th by the
That's
county board.
My understanding right now, it's still February.
All on track.
Yes.
And for the sake of the audience, at December, I had showed the reserve balances there, and I think through December, we'd spent about $2.6, $2.7 million. If it's $4.5 million, that's an extra $2 million, but we're expecting to get $2.1 million, so our reserve position should still stay strong.
Well, and I have the complete project and the change orders. Right now, we're at $3.5 million, and it looks like it's about, and this is just an estimate, we can't set this in stone yet, because there may still be some other things, but they're looking at future costs. Right now, it looks like about $131,000 more of additional costs, so that puts us at about $3.6.5 million for this project as of today, as long as there's nothing else that comes across that we need more contingency for. So we'll come in a little bit under that 4.5, about $800,000. Excuse me.
It's not a little bit, that's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah.
Okay.
It's a good significant, but I know we put in a lot for contingency, not knowing exactly what was gonna be needed, but if it stays along this path, that's a good number for us. Okay, anything else on the athletic fields? The next item I have then is the Parks and Facilities Master Plan. We had a meeting on January 9th, a public meeting here in this room. We had a lot of information that was shared with Lowe's Design that they took back, that they're compiling. They are gonna come back and do some focus groups with our key stakeholders, our key user groups in the community. And they're working towards putting together the surveys that will go out in February. So the surveys will be out in the community in February. And we're looking at having a final master plan around April of this year. And the significance of that is it's going to give the board an opportunity to get the final prioritization of how the capital dollars are spent moving forward.
And this is an update from 2016, 15,
16.
16?
The last facilities master plan was approved by the board in 2015, based off of data from 2010 through
Right,
2015.
right. So
So it's really
9 years more
yeah,
current
about a
data.
10-year update based on the original data that we received.
Good.
So, but this will have a complete opportunity for the residents to give their feedback and a complete needs assessment for what the community is looking for.
all residents will have an opportunity.
Every resident will have an opportunity to speak. Now's the time.
And is it also my understanding that you forwarded to Los the Foundation's Celebration 25-year Brainstorm Day planning report?
It did. Los has the 2015 master plan, so the intention isn't to completely restart a new one, it's to build upon that master plan. They also have the report from the foundation initiative to put together the Celebration 25, so they have that report also.
Steve, could you explain just repeat for the purposes of the streaming, the impact of the town hall charts and how those will affect the ultimate decision?
Sure.
Because I think some people are under the impression that the more dots that went up, that's going to be the deciding factor.
No, that's one section towards the total master planning methodology. And the real significance of that was to try and get a determination or basis of what type of information we want to look for in the survey. So the survey will go out based off of feedback from that meeting and then from the focus group meetings also.
Yeah, it helps to determine what questions to ask.
Yeah, and then
If
once
there was something
all
that had no attention, why ask questions about it?
Yeah, and then once all that data is compiled, including Celebration 25 report, past master plans, all of that information will be utilized to compile the final master plan.
And for perfect clarity, the final master plan will not say, here is priority A, B, C, and D. It will be the problem of the new board on March 7th, 8th, to start, by the time we get this, to start thinking about, okay, what are priorities, where do we spend it? This will talk about a community center, but if we decide to go down a community center path, there's going to be a project to figure out what a community center really even means in more detail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's not going to answer everything.
It's not
gonna
going
be-
to answer everything, and, you know, when you talk about a community center, you got land out there, but you could put a second floor here, you've got Stetson, you've got other opportunities, so there could be lots of conversations, so it's part of a process.
Sure, and I imagine there will be many conversations after that, but the significance of having this master plan is you're going to have a true picture of what the needs are of this community based on resident feedback, not just one group saying this is what we need, but entire community having opportunity to give feedback. And then it's going to come down to how much money you have and when you can pay for certain items. So there'll be many more conversations about that, I'm sure. Okay, I need to let you all know that we did have a short minor glitch on the live streaming, but I believe it's back up now. And if you missed a piece of it from watching from home, the full video will be back up online tomorrow, so you can check out the full video tomorrow. And then the last item I have is just to remind everybody, this is such an important time of year for the Homeowners Association because it's election time. And then in February, you're going to have the survey going out for the master plan. So get involved. February 4th is when the polls will open for voting. We have 5 candidates running for 3 positions. So voting will run from February 4th through March 5th, and it'll end at 5:30 on March 5th. If the online voting goes through tonight, then there'll be an opportunity to do online voting and drop your ballots off at Town Hall. And that's everything I have. I would like to ask Doug from Yellowstone if he could come up, and Todd come up and give a quick update on facility maintenance in the community, and then talk a little bit about the chemicals and the dog park that we talked about.
Do you want to go first? Well, good evening, everyone. I want to start off on a good note. If you remember a few months ago, actually it was in the summer, we've done some new landscaping improvements down at Artisan area. So if you go by the bocce court, you can see the beautiful Bohemia orchids that are blooming. So I welcome you all to go down there. It's a nice site. So thank you, Doug, for that. All the landscaping is in good condition right now. A few weeds here and there, typical for winter time that they're working on diligently to get resolved. Nothing major concern. The ryegrass that you see in all the Bermuda is rooted in, growing strong, especially in the athletic fields. Ready for Little League to start here within a month, I believe. So we're happy about that. Getting all the fields clay cleaned up and ready for this spring season. Did you want to talk about the clay sulfate? Yeah, Roundup.
Sure.
Putting you on the spot.
I'd love to talk about it.
Go ahead.
As far as the concerns go, there's laws governing how we use certain chemicals. We stick by the law. We put our signs out. And that's basically the guidelines that we need to go by, just whatever the law says, make sure we're mixing it right, make sure we're using the right rates, and notifying everybody. The one thing we've all discussed is, as far as notification, we can do better. Obviously, we can put a few more signs out when we're doing it and stuff, so that's what we're concentrating on, is just being more open about when the spray's going down and where it's going down, so everybody's more than aware of what we're doing. Because I think you see our guy with the backpack spraying, and they don't see signs out or signs where they want them, and that causes some alarm. So putting more signs out is only going to help. So.
And y'all saw in your reports about glyphosate and the veterinarians, conversations about that, University of Florida, about the safeness of the product.
Yeah, I think that needs to be stressed a little more. We have seen a lot of documentation, and there was a Roundup case where a rogue jury in court said, okay, maybe this is bad, and trial lawyers had fun, but when you read everything by professionals and stuff like that for animals, it's extremely safe. Yes, there should be signs and stuff like that, which I know you were doing and could do more of, sure, probably. But when you read everything, Roundup is not this horrible chemical that is bad for pets. It's actually one of the safer ones out there for the job that it's intended to do. And yeah, the pets shouldn't really be eating it when it's wet, but even if they do, it goes through their system quite smoothly and easily.
Well, and I also, I know when all this was happening with the news story, there was some conversation about what to post, but through conversations with Jerry, we really didn't have an update on what legally was going on. So I think we could probably post something now, working with the dog park committee about the safety again. And then if you want to know more about the incident that took place that was on the news, you can watch what Jerry said tonight. We can put a link to the video so people can see
That's
that
a good
directly
point.
from the source.
To me, what Jerry said is one issue, but it would be good maybe in the magazine or somewhere to post some of the professional articles about Roundup. I mean, it really was kind of interesting. Okay, this is not what gets said, you know, over 3 beers at the local bar, but actually professionals who study this for a living have tested daylights out of it, say. So I think there'd be value.
Yeah, what the experts say.
If we're done with that conversation, we're also working on some landscape enhancements. So throughout the spring, we'll be coming to you with a couple proposals for Sand Lace Park, some things at Lakeside, Deer Woods, and some things on Indigo. That got a couple going through ARC right now, so we'll keep you up to date on those.
I want to thank you again for putting together this report that shows us scope of service. The one area, and you mentioned it very briefly, was weed control does not meet the scope anywhere. It's a 1 all the way across. I'd like to hear a little bit more about what you're going to do for weed control. It says continual, and the report has all 1s not meeting the quality of service that we're expecting.
I don't think it's the whole report for every area. I don't think I had ones for every single area.
Maybe I'm misreading it, but there's 1s all the way across. If you could talk about what you're doing for weed control.
Go ahead.
We have one guy dedicated to weed control. Different chemicals we use pre-emergent, and we're getting on that pretty heavy now. But a lot of the weeds you see are in beds, like within jasmine and stuff, so there's some selective herbicides we use, and it's concentrating on that and switching up a few things, and working on the pre-emergent is going to help everywhere, because you can spray weeds and they're back next month. If we can break that cycle and get them gone for a while, it will help. And Founders Park, I can tell you, was full of weeds a month ago, and I see a huge improvement with switching up a few chemicals and the timing with the guy. But there's no more important guy to me out here than his name's Terrence. He drives a golf cart around. He's the most important guy to me out there, because we just can't get behind in weeds. And we've stressed that with him. I keep a record of where he's been, what he's sprayed, and all that. So stepping up that, the timeliness and stuff and the tracking of it is what I'm trying to do. And I see some improvement. There's always going to be a few weeds, but if we're at the level we want it to be, then we're in good shape. But
Okay, just to clarify, you're right. It was Lakeside, Founders, Hippodrome,
Yeah.
Veranda, Savannah, and Longmeadow. All of those were not meeting standards,
Right.
so. I'm surprised why it would have been just those parks and nothing else. Is that the scheduling? Is it something else going on?
That's possible. I try to keep them on a 2-week schedule as far as hitting every park, but with the other chemicals we're using, the pre-emergent stuff, it stretches it out a little bit. I can't say for sure that it was, that was just the off week, or that was the longest time, but once we get through everything and get the pre-emergent down, I think we'll be going after tiny little weeds rather than big ones here and there.
Do you go over this report, Todd, with everybody at Yellowstone?
Yeah, we meet weekly and discuss everything from weeds to plant replacement to, nutrition of the plants, so.
I mean, the rest of the report is remarkable. It's wonderful, way better than we used to be. I just want to make sure that if we're actually identifying something that's problematic, that you're aware of it and know in a timely fashion, and then can resolve it.
Sure.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank
He
you.
hears from me about every day, so.
Really?
Oh, yes.
That's hard to believe.
It was the purpose of the, it was the
That was
purpose
the
of the
purpose of
report.
that.
Yes, absolutely.
And so something
Identify
doesn't
and
recur.
conquer.
Yep.
What a concept, we read it.
Thank you. Anything else? Anything else from the board?
Thank you very much.
That's the end of our
Thank
management
you.
report.
Steve, just one other piece on management. Do you want to talk about the Island Village meeting next Thursday?
There will be an Island Village meeting next Thursday for them to talk a little bit about the project and the layout of the, what the road's gonna look like and what the structure's gonna look like down there. So we encourage everybody to come. My brain's, I think it's it starts at 6 o'clock.
6
next
o'clock
Thursday,
in this
and
room?
It goes from 6 to 8.
6 to 8?
Next Thursday, the 3rd.
And they're running the meeting and,
Yeah, let me go a little further than that. It's gonna talk about the road in, what the bridge looks like, what phase 1 looks like, traffic patterns and stuff like that. So we believe it'll actually be a very interesting meeting. And it's been about a year, so this is really ground broke recently on the road in there, and this is where the project really stands and starts Matamee's communication structure going forward.
yeah.
But they won't be talking about what the houses look like or anything like that at this point in time. It's just gonna be.
No, but it's gonna be more than
It'll
the
be
It'll be
road.
very
It's going to
interesting.
be,
Some overall layout, what the roads would look like. And they'll introduce phases 2, 3, and 4, but those are not developed at all.
This
So
is
we
not a
can-
sales presentation.
There is not a sales
I
presentation.
don't have to take a tour to get the hotel room. No, okay.
Okay, moving on, action items. Okay, action items. Item number 1, motion to approve the association resolution for CROA for the election to have excess income applied to the following year's assessments. Do we want to bundle?
yes.
1, 2, and 3? Okay, so we're bundling all of those. Motion to approve items 1, 2, and 3.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Debbie. Brian, second. Discussion.
What, yeah, I have a quick question. How does the election, the income or the expense, whatever you want to call it, go for CCS? How is that?
Well, CCS also is for all the sale of our tchotchkes, the celebration tchotchkes. So typically we have some.
Is that a technical term?
Go for
Yes,
swag.
it is.
Can you spell that, please, for the record?
No, I can't.
Okay, thank you.
But that income from that, because we purchase things, we sell them for more, so we always have some income from that.
By law, you need
Yeah,
to just do
okay,
is basically closing out
I
their
just
financial
wanted to,
statements.
there hasn't been a meeting, so I don't know.
Any further discussion? Good question. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, motion to approve P.J. Cartwright to coordinate the vote tabulation for the 2019 CROA elections. Thank you, Jack. Second by Vaughn.
I just wanted to tell you, I did speak with PJ, and she's agreed to do it again, so that was an important part of this. But I want to thank her.
She's back here nodding.
I want
She's
to
nodding
thank
off.
her so much for just the years of helping with this. She does such a great job. We know that when we're handed over to her, it's in good hands, and it's very thorough. So thank you so much for agreeing to do it again this year.
Yeah, and I just want to say, we're still having questions and issues around the community, around elections at various organizations, condos, and so on. I'm very proud of the way CROA handles elections. We've asked Debbie and Jack to act as liaisons in the CROA board election that's coming up, so that if there are questions or concerns, that those could be addressed in a positive way. And I know that PJ and her team set a standard for how votes should be tabulated, and my hope is that that will be emulated throughout the community. So thank you very much for doing that.
And call Jack first. No.
Yeah, call Jack before
If
Debbie. I
any
don't
of the
know.
other
Sorry.
condo associations or other entities that do voting in town would like to see the plan for this, we're certainly willing to share that with them.
That's a great
That's awesome.
idea.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, motion to approve Simply Voting to conduct the online voting portion of the 2019 CROA election in the amount of $1,233 from the CROA operating expenditures.
So moved.
Thank you, Jack.
Second.
Kevin was the second?
Yeah, I'll
All
go
right,
for it.
Kevin's the second.
Uh-oh.
Thank you. Any discussion? According to the documentation, this has been used before. It's also the lowest price.
This is the company that we
This is
use.
the company that we've used.
Yeah.
Since 2012. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 6, motion to appoint Michelle Reike to the Covenants Committee.
Before we make this motion.
Thank you.
If I could.
Please.
I would like to just raise the general question. We are right at the end of our term of this first year, and we're about to turn the corner into a new year and a new board. I would like to wait on appointing members to existing committees so that we could do all of that at one time. And unless Stephen feels very strongly that he needs a 7th member on that committee, I would prefer that we table this, let the new board sit in, get new applications from everyone that's interested, and reset the board again. And that is no disparagement of the applicant at all. It's just a reality that I hope we're going to go back and start with a clean slate in all of the committees and ask everyone to reapply for the committees that they're interested in so that we can evaluate
Do you
them.
think that would really change the number of applicants, though? I mean, by waiting a month?
Stephen, do you want to speak to that?
What advantage would that be?
Do you want to?
Well, to ask somebody to come on the committee and then ask them to reapply in a month strikes me as being not
No, but why
necessary.
wait
I
to
think they could do a
vote on it?
roving.
So a different question is, the new board, or a board appoints and does the committee resolution and membership, and what time is that done?
That'll be done in April, at the April.
That's done in April.
Yeah, so you would
So we're
lose
talking about 3 months.
January, February, March, that's a.
So this would be
year.
basically a 3-month appointment.
Yeah.
Does this fill the vacancy that you have, that you reported having a vacancy?
We currently have a vacancy on our committee at this time.
So,
Would you like this member appointed as chair?
The more members of the committee provides more input to decisions as to review your, input.
and it would be for actually a 3-month period, because all new appointments and new, if you will, assignments for committees comes up.
I have a question, and it's going to go into the next
Yes.
item, and that's going to be the technology committee. Are we going to repeat whatever the decision is here onto the technology committee?
Well, I think the technology committee has to get started. It has to be set up. I just think doing this, knowing that we're going to have to redo it again in a couple of months, or at least I hope we will, and maybe the decision of the board that we're just happy with everybody that's on the committees. But I think, and by saying we're happy, I don't mean with the individuals, just with the concept of, do we want to restart committees and ask for applications and look at what we're doing with committees? I think that's a bigger conversation. And so I'm just asking that we wait 3 months on this unless you feel absolutely critical that you've got to have this
I
7th
mean,
person.
Kevin, do you want to wait 3 months to start your committee?
I think Jackson was saying that wouldn't be the same, and we would appoint to technology tonight, but when it comes to this, I mean, it's 3 months from now. I think,
I personally would be comfortable approving her. The committee's recommended her. I mean, if David were to get reelected, and that's a hypothetical, and we had 5 consistent board members, would we really start the committee structure all over again? We did it last year because we had so many new board members, so that would be my thought.
If I may.
Call the question?
He had a comment, sorry.
If I may, any member that we do have that's going to come on to the committee, I started a program as to the fact that we have to do a little bit of indoctrination. The committee this year did ride-alongs with the inspectors and also did time with the standard staff to where that they were also trained up. So there's also a training period of which to bring them, like what you're doing with the candidates, to bring them online. Again, we also then have to have our quorum of the number of people also. Now, to also point out, one other thing, you have been asking for the last 11 months for volunteers. It's been in every Friday Flash. So the issue of it's not an open, we're always looking for volunteers. So I would think that don't box yourself in is my recommendation.
This application was dated December 7th, so if she's put in, it's been a while she's waiting.
Yeah.
Right. So
I'd
can we have a motion?
I'd like
Or-
to make the motion to approve.
Second?
Motion by Kevin, second by Debbie. Any further discussion? All in favor of this nomination for this covenants committee? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed?
Thank you. One dissenting vote. Rachel?
Okay.
Thank you, Steve. Item 7, motion to review applications and appoint up to 5 applicants to the Technology Committee.
Here, I would like a little time. We've got 7 applicants for 5 positions. We as a board sometimes get ourselves in trouble when we talk about things in public. I would prefer that if we're going, since it's a whole sweep new thing, I would almost like to do an executive session so we could talk about the 7 people and why them, or if we don't do executive session, then let's do a workshop, but at least let's talk about the 7 people. We've got time to talk about who's gonna do it. I'd still love to hear Kevin talk about, okay, what are the qualifications? I mean, I looked at them, there's some extremely qualified
Yeah.
people in here. So it actually looks like we've got a great response. Maybe we also want to get consistent formats. Some of them have resumes, some of them had the older forms and stuff like that.
Yeah, I support, and I understand that we want to talk about it, but I just want to point out that executive session is normally reserved for a legal issue or a personnel issue, and this is neither, so I would recommend possibly a workshop where we could talk about this.
Yeah, I'm okay pushing it off until the next workshop,
To workshop.
if that makes everybody happy, so we can discuss it in better detail. And anybody that doesn't have a resume, perhaps reach out and ask them to attach one.
And the other thing that happened is we had 2 different versions of the volunteer form.
That's
And some
also,
of them filled out the original version that doesn't have the detail. And so I would just like to have, and the reason we revised it is we have more detail in the revised version. Most have the complete version, some have truncated versions. So we have inconsistency, so we need to have a level playing field.
But it would be good to get this group moving sooner rather
Yes.
than later, because
Yes.
I think they're gonna need a
Right.
period of time to put on the training wheels and figure out what the committee's gonna do and stuff like that.
And
Because
focus.
are we comfortable at the next
So motion-
workshop
Workshop.
approving
I think
at the
I-
workshop?
We can approve at the workshop.
Motion to table to the workshop?
So
Do we need a
I'll
motion?
make the motion to
So
table.
Debbie's going to make a motion to table item 7 to our next workshop.
I'll second.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Debbie and Kevin. Any further discussion on that?
Yeah, I have one other item for discussion. A resident contacted me that they had applied for the Recreation Committee, and I didn't see that included, so I'm just checking.
We still need to vote on this.
Just that's not on this item.
Yeah, if you could just check and let me know if you guys received it, the application.
That's not a discussion on this item. Any further discussion on this item? All in favor?
Motion to table,
Aye.
right?
Motion to
Motion to
table.
table.
We'll motion table. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 8, motion to approve the application for business use in the home business district for 504 Celebration Avenue, Studio Learning, pending county licensing.
I'd like to make one adjustment to the motion that's on here.
Please.
It does say pending county licensing. I'd like it to change to state and county. To state
Oh, state and county?
approval.
Yes,
Pending approval of
Approval
state
and
and county.
licensing. Yeah.
licensing, yeah.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
So Kevin is making the motion as amended.
And
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jack.
Could I ask Tony to come up?
yeah, there's some questions.
By way of full disclosure, I asked Tony to do some research into this particular application. I was surprised to see that the documents permit childcare at this particular location, but I'm hoping that you could talk a little bit about what it is that's being proposed here, and if the tenant is here, perhaps we can ask some questions of them.
Absolutely. So they're here. Would you like to come up, all 3 of you? So you can ask them directly.
Hi. my understanding from the application is that you anticipate 40 children twice a day plus 10 adults. So 50 to 100 people a day coming in and out of this particular location. Is that accurate?
The number will be set by the state and county.
You're not licensed yet?
Nope.
My understanding also is that you did something, probably not as extensive, but you were working in Artisan Park Club for a while, doing some child development work. Is that correct?
Correct, yes. It's,
And were you licensed to do that?
it was a parent-child play class.
Was it
So
licensed by the state?
Not the parent-child play class, no.
Have you ever been licensed by the state for that?
No.
And what's the status of your license application?
Well, basically, we're waiting for different verifications, verification letters from the county. They asked, to give them certain specifications of amount of parking and just information that they need in order to make the decision as far as like, okay, how many children, would be allowed in that premises.
Yeah.
And the state as well, they look at the square footage inside and outside.
What's the square footage, do you know, of the 504?
I think it's about 2,700? 3,300?
How much? How much?
3,300.
2,300?
3,300.
3,200.
And some of that is upstairs footage, right? What age group is this for?
1 to 5. 1 to 5.
1 to 5. Are they allowed upstairs in the facility according to the state law?
That will be up to the state. When they come, the inspector come and the county comes, they will measure up the space that they will allow and then prorate that on the number of kids they can have.
Okay. Did you receive income at the Artisan Club for childcare? Did you receive any
Well,
income?
it was not childcare, it was a parent-child play class.
Okay, was it income for the class? Did people pay for the class?
Yes.
Okay, and there was no license?
For the parent-child play class, it does not require that.
Okay.
I guess I'm not trying to keep you from doing business, but I'm really concerned about that particular location, given the amount of traffic on Celebration Avenue, that particular nature of businesses that are there, that you are putting a very large burden on that property, putting a lot of kids in there. I have doubts about whether or not 1- and 2-year-olds are permitted by state law, at least they didn't used to be, to go upstairs, which means you're going to be putting a lot of people downstairs. And it strikes me that this business plan and this licensing is pretty speculative still at this point, and I would like to wait to approve this application until you're much further along with your state application, and we know that the state has approved it, and they feel like you can handle it, that you've got the staff, that you've got the space, you've got the resources to do it. And candidly, I don't think you've demonstrated that in your prior work in this field, but maybe I'm missing something.
I'd like to ask,
Yeah.
Tony, could you have the input on, oh, sorry. You have the input on the study that was done by ARC on the traffic issue? Because I know, remember we had that issue before.
Oh,
on
that was
back-
across the street.
That was behind the house, yeah, that was on the other house. Did they look at the traffic impact on this? And what-
It is very busy. There's no parking.
Yeah.
Because there's the eye doctor and all the other businesses on that side, but they do actually, this house specifically does have extra parking in the back where a lot of the other ones don't.
It's mainly gonna be drop-off, right?
Yes,
Drop-off?
correct. That is correct.
And then the report says 8 to 10 spaces in the back.
Right.
Yes, there's 8 to 10 parking spots in the back, and there's also front road parking in front of the house. And this is the same street that the K8 has drop-off and deliveries on. And we're talking maybe 40 kids between 7 and, say, 9, 10 p.m., or a.m., spread out. So there's not going to be that many cars at a time even stopping, and it's simply just dropping off. And we can run them behind the house and in front of the house.
What's on either side of your?
Lawyer office on one side and eye doctor on the other one, and then the
So
real
this
estate
is,
office.
This is a block from where the lady was hit and struck and had the brain injury on Celebration Avenue. This is a block from there, that location?
I'm not familiar with that.
That was December 21st.
Do you need the lease in order to get your licensing? Is that part of that state
Yes.
license?
It is.
That's what I
And-
was
Well,
thinking.
you've got a lease, you just don't have our approval yet, but you've got a lease for the property, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's what you need for your application, but you don't need our approval for a state license yet.
Yeah, but I would also say if we postpone this, we cannot hire people. We cannot put the stuff in place until we know we can actually operate. Huh?
When will you hear, do you think, from the state and the county?
We have a meeting with the county tomorrow, and then the process that will take for them. So, but they will not tell you like this is the roadmap and this is when we make the decision. So you have to do like step by step by step.
So they didn't give you any time frame? A
No.
month, 2 months, 3 months?
Couple weeks?
They gave initially
Could be
one
fast,
that was
you know.
yeah. They gave one letter initially, and then they've gone back on that later, and say we can do it like this and this and this. So we're meeting with the county tomorrow, and then there's a state process. But I don't honestly see how that interferes with the decision here if we can use the property as a childcare facility or not.
Well, if you don't have a state license, you can't use the property. So, I mean, that's kind of a barrier right away. I would rather wait until you've got your license, see what the state says. They may come back to you and say, you know what, we don't think you can handle 40 kids, but we think you can handle 30 or 25 or some other number. And we're concerned about the pickup and drop off, or we're concerned about the safety of the building, because it was not designed for childcare use. When that building was built, it was a show home, and it had a completely different usage. So in my mind, it's prudent to wait until you get your license and then ask you to come back to us. And if everything is fine with the state, you'll get your approval from us. We don't have a reason to stop it.
I'm the owner of the house. So we.
I'm sorry, could you come up the mic, because there's people that,
Sure.
I don't know why, but they watch this.
So we signed a lease that's contingent of the state, county, and town's approval. Because without the lease, you can decide on it. So that's why I went ahead and did it with the contingency in it. What I suggest, if you have doubts about the state and the county's approval and licensing, would be that you, on your turn, like I did, to help these people, approve contingent of the state and the county approving and the right licensing being there. So we have this step already done where we get the other.
No, I'm not in favor of that. I want to hear what the state has to say.
Yeah.
You're an architect, correct?
Yes.
Am I correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
So you understand architecturally that there may be things about that home that are not appropriate for childcare for ages 1 to 5.
Yes, but if the state doesn't approve, the whole thing stops anyway.
I didn't get your
So
name.
if you approve contingent of the state approving, like I approve contingent of y'all approving, I don't see where the problem.
Well, the difference is that we're not in business to rent the property. So I understand you're writing a contingent agreement, but I'm not sure that that's a proper justification for us to do it.
In the charter for the home business district, it does allow for childcare.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And I don't know if you visited the house before.
Oh, I've been in the house. I was in the house when it was first built, and I've been in the house a number of times.
I think you can see there's 4 rooms downstairs, that the house is like perfectly organized to do a childcare facility.
Yeah, if the state thinks 40 children at that age,
The
morning
state
and 40 in
thinks-
the afternoon, in that space is appropriate,
The
then
state
they...
thinks 10 children per toilet, and there's 4 toilets. So that's how they came up with the number.
Could you
10
come
toilets on
closer
the
to
ground
mic?
floor.
And
Sorry about
I'm so sorry. And I
You're
did
fine.
not hear your name. If I missed it, I apologize.
My name is Gert,
Okay, and your last name?
with 2 E's.
Okay, Gert, and your last name?
Vanderbruggen.
Okay, and you live at?
I live at 604 Gulf Park Drive.
He's the owner of this house, 504.
I'm the owner of the house, and I live
So our
at
issue-
Gulf Park.
So our issue is, this is about home business district.
Yes.
And I think one of the biggest issues for me is the number of kids going to get dropped off. We're talking about safety of those kids, traffic, front and back, so I don't think that's fully developed at this point.
Again, maybe there's 10 parking spaces in the back of the house. We're talking 40 kids.
But you were talking about 10 employees. That's what your narrative says.
That's
8 to
right.
10 employees, adults.
It depends on the ratio. There's a
Yeah, it's just
student-child ratio. So I don't like to, I can't imagine, and I know a lot of schools pack these children in like sardines because it's all about the almighty dollar. I do not want to do that. I want to have more adults, more supervision, and quality care, which is why the concept of how I would like to teach the children, the methodology that I have in mind, requires that for better care. I just want to rewind a little bit when you're as far as saying that you would like to see first that the state and the county has approved. My concern is I've already spoken with the counselor that's appointed to me that will eventually come out and measure. However, I've been told quite a few times that they're basically the last person that's going to approve. So they want to know that Celebration is allowing it, that it's permissible to have that premises as a daycare center. So if that's written that it is allowed, I would like to say, yes, it is allowed. If I tell them, but, that no, they're not giving the decision right now, then they're saying, well, how can we give the decision? So they're going to wait for the county, they're going to wait for the fire marshal, and they're also going to wait for Celebration. And then they'll say, okay, well, now it's worth for us to do the legwork. Now we'll come out, now we'll measure. The meeting tomorrow morning is to have a face-to-face so we can do all of, okay, Rita, this is what you need to do, which I've already have done a lot of that legwork because I had found out that this could happen very quickly. It just depends on the amount of applications that they have on their desk, and because we had been talking about this, once I submitted the inquiry and the program and what I plan to do, then she was basically like, okay, let's do this meeting. It's next Thursday, and and she'll just give step by step, my checklist of what I need to get. And as far as the state's concerned, is they want to know that these approvals are in place so then they can do their part.
Has the county told you that they will not make a decision on the permit until you hear from Celebration?
Originally, yes.
Who told you that?
People that I spoke with, I've talked to them like 4 separate times. And the state had also said that. And then they said, well, it's a planned community. We're going to have to research this. We sent them a PDF file. They wanted this aerial view, how many parking spots were going on, that we have about 8 to 10 parking in the back, then we have the front, and we're also talking about that this is Celebration, a community where everybody goes with their stroller and drops off their child. And the other thing is when it allows. And the other thing also is we have the alley. We have a, we do it at the K-8,
Yeah,
so I'm
let me-
thinking
let
we
me-
could do it in a very
I
organized
understand, and
manner.
let me put that in your narrative. Let me clarify for the board. I am not saying that we can stop this usage. I am simply asking tonight that we table this request until we hear more. If you get a letter from the state that says we won't give you an approval until Celebration approves it, send that to us, let us know. I have not seen that letter, I'm not familiar with that kind of a letter, I don't think that's typical.
It's not typical. First, they would like for the town to give me a verification letter to say.
I would like that in writing, if the state or the county would say.
That's fine.
As well as the state gets a lot of applications, can I do this, can I do that? And these people have a lot of work, and they only take it seriously once the town approves.
How long have you been working with the county and state?
Since, I'd say, beginning of November.
So you've been working with them for 3 to 4 months, and we're hearing about it tonight.
Well, because we had to wait for the meeting. I did not realize that you had to submit the application a month before. So really, I would have been ready for the December 14 or around that time frame. So I was not, it wouldn't have been able to be reviewed until the January 23rd.
You talking about the ARC meeting?
Deadline to turn it in.
The deadline to turn, yes.
So I would be in favor of Jackson, if you wanted to make that a motion or whatever you
We
want
have a motion. We need to-
I'll second that.
Yeah,
No, we already
before
have
we
it.
do
Okay,
that,
well, that's
I
done.
just want
Let's-
to rewind procedurally. Rachel, was there I thought Kevin made an
From
original
Kevin and
motion,
Jack,
didn't you?
seconded.
You might have to, and it was seconded? So I think you have to go back and
Just
reverse
amend
those
your
motions
motion.
then.
Can we
can we-
Amend that motion.
That's right, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I still have,
There's some other.
I'm
there's
actually,
some
I'd
other
like to
points.
table it.
Brian,
Still discuss.
Brian,
well, my point is
And I know.
that I'd almost like just a little bit more information, because really, I'm reading this for the first time, and I don't know how long
Okay.
you've been working with Tony or others at Town Hall here, but I agree with Jackson, I'm not trying to kill this, but I would really like to understand it a little better and understand the traffic flows and that just a little better, because I am.
Well, I'm
thinking
not
about-
the expert, I'm thinking the county is. So of course they're going to give us the number of what they, they would trump whatever the state would say as far as numbers go, but we don't get these answers because the county's already researching.
Okay, but I'm not comfortable saying yes to 40 if the county comes back and says, sure, we're happy with 200. I mean, that sounds, I know that sounds dumb, but if we give a blanket approval, and then the problem we get is then all the people at the condo association downtown, all the people in the local houses start complaining to us. So it would be nice for us to actually sit here and say, here are the facts around how many kids, because if they come back and tell you, look, you're approved for 25 kids and you're going to have 3 employees and stuff like that, this makes total sense. I don't really have a picture of your parking. I haven't driven by it and stuff like that. It would just allow us to see the complete puzzle. We have a board meeting once a month, but we also have workshops 2 times a month. And in a workshop, we can also address this. So we can be...
Twice or 3 times a month.
Yeah, so it's not like we're going to tell you we can't get to it for 6 more weeks. It would be nice to say, okay, the county has come back and said this is approved for 25 kids. You're planning on having 3 employees. It's going to have a drop-off over these 2.5 hours. It's, the parking back behind the place is going to handle 80% of the flow. Then it's an easy decision for us to say,
Sure, and
we
I
got it.
completely respect that. I mean, it took me a while to understand, the entire process and.
So 2 other things. When this comes back to us, I mean, what happens inside the building will be county and state approved. For us, it's also what's happening outside. So I would like to see as part of this plan, what's the traffic flow? Island Village is doing that, the schools have to do that all the time. So what is the traffic flow, and what are the implications for our shared community? The other thing is at the start of your narrative today, you talk about 10 employees, your written documentation says 2 to 6. So I'd like that discrepancy clarified in writing. In writing.
It would be based on the amount of children, so
You say 2 to 6, so clarify that.
would-
When you do your reproposal.
yes, okay. So the 2 would be,
Clarify. When you get your approval, clarify.
oh,
So just give us a
I don't think
report.
we need that now. We don't
Because
need
if
that.
you ended up with 6 or 7 employees, where are they going to park as opposed to if they park behind your building, then there's no place for drop-off?
In front of the eye doctor.
I have another question.
sure.
We had an issue right very near where you leased.
Where that home is?
Very, very close, and the residents were up in arms about that business, and it had to do with traffic. And it got to the point where we had half a room full of people arguing against this business. It became a real big issue. That's why we're really spending a lot of time on the traffic issue. It's not so much inside, that's the state.
That's
They
the
say
state.
it's okay. But outside, it became a real issue with neighboring homes. I don't know what's right behind your business. Is there another home back there?
It's more of a business.
Home business district. So
Yeah,
the
I-
9 homes in the block
Is
are
that the
all
dentist?
business
The whole
homes.
block is business?
The whole
Yeah.
block.
Dentist.
So even on Front Street, there's
All
a
of Front Street.
dentist
The
and
dentist,
an architect's office,
chiropractor.
a beauty
The
parlor.
other house that you're referring to was not in the home business district.
No, it
That's where
wasn't. It was back.
across from it.
Back a couple houses back there. So I
So-
didn't know if this traffic.
We have a
motion.
We have a motion on the floor, and it's seconded. We've been discussing. What do we want to do with the motion? We want to
Well,
I don't want
You
to back
you
the
want
original
to change the
motion.
motion to table this?
Yes,
Well,
we need a
hold on.
second on the
I think
table.
it was your
Real
second,
quick,
and Jackson's
let's-
the second to table this.
I don't think it's clear to Rachel, and she has to be able to, Well, it didn't get voted on, so
It
you're
hasn't been
gonna
voted on.
amend that motion, right?
We can vote on.
So let's, just for procedural purposes, if you could
I will
amend
amend it to table it until we learn more from the state and the traffic plan.
And we need a second amendment.
And then, was Jack the second? Was Jack the second?
Yes, I think that's a yes.
Second on tabling. Okay, call the question.
So Jack is the second on table? Is that okay, Jack? Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. This is for
Aye.
tabling.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion is tabled.
So,
Thank you.
So February 4th is the next workshop,
Yeah.
and then the one after that is February 20th.
20. And there's a board meeting 27.
Contact us again.
Can I ask a question? Real quick, when I go to this meeting tomorrow and I speak with the counselor for, DSF there, and she says, nope, absolutely not. This is our policy. We need to know that the community okays it. Then what?
Find a new counselor, find a
Jackson
new counselor,
outlined that. He
because
said,
I don't
get it in writing.
think that will,
She puts it in
yeah.
writing.
Just get it in writing to us.
The board will have that.
I'll see her tomorrow morning and I'll get it in writing. So once I get it in writing, do I have to wait again for the following month?
Yeah.
I would have to wait for
February 4th.
February 4th.
But between now and February 4th, help
an
us
email.
understand how traffic flows will work. That's what we're saying.
Honestly,
We
I
need
thought
some
that was a
addendums
county
to this
thing.
proposal.
We already submitted that to the county on how the traffic and drop-off lines and stuff, but we were not aware at all
Okay.
that you guys
That's our,
wanted that
that's part of
application.
our concern.
That's our concern.
We would
if
just
the-
like to see that.
If the county puts it in writing that it wants your approval first, then we're back to where we are today.
And come back to us.
Yes, but then we are exactly at the same
It's only
point.
about 2
Where-
weeks away.
Yeah,
And 2
where-
weeks
But we've
further,
also informed what else we need,
Yeah.
because it wasn't sufficient.
At the end
Even
of the
if it-
day, we're just an HOA. We're not a town, so the state is going to issue a license if a license is supposed to be issued. Just like these houses, they can short-term rent, and if the state wanted to issue a hotel license, they probably would. Then that would go ahead and go against our documents, and we would review it further. So all we're asking for is have the state do what they do. They outrank us, right? So make sure they do what they are supposed to do, and if you get approved and it fits within our bylaws, then we proceed. But the state is not waiting for Celebration, just an HOA. It's not waiting for us.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next items, I propose that we bundle items 9, 10, and 11, if that's okay?
So moved.
Thank you, Jack. Motion to approve the licensing agreement, and this is for, a second, Vaughn. I was just moving ahead.
I have a
All right, so,
discussion item with
so you
this.
see what these are.
Yeah, I have a special item with this. We had in the past, before we started the dog park, had that area in Davie for years and years and years and years, gosh, I don't know, probably 15 years, had put whatever their pots, I think we had a couple thousand pots, and they had a dumpster, they would put whatever material, they discarded it there. Before we built the dog park, Steve suggested, and it was a great suggestion, we really need to clear this area because, we don't know what animals are getting in there or what's going on, and we don't want to have that issue. So that area was cleared, and there was some discussion about a community garden, which I thought was great. They were talking about a community garden that we could possibly put that area. It's a small area, but big enough for a couple community plots. And I just don't want to go back to dumping things between the dogs and the CDD, and we're going to have kids going to the ball field. There was a lot of broken things there. There were a lot of just it's trash, dumping things. So I do not support this, but I know I'm just 1 of 6, but I would like to know.
1 of 7.
1 of 7, I'm sorry. 1 of 6 person.
Jack, you want to be.
My math
come on.
actually used to be really good before this meeting started
but
it
not
too. But I would like to just maybe ask if we could talk about why
Yeah,
that changed.
I'll address that. The site that had Davie, and so Davie was where the dog park is now. Gerard was actually on the
Gerard.
location where we're talking about.
Okay.
But when we did the original conceptual design to get the property donated to us, that little area that Todd's proposing to you was always intended to be like a little maintenance area.
Wasn't that where Davy's trailer was?
No, that was
Da-
Gerard. Gerard had that property there. Davey had the property closer to the library. Gerard had that piece right next to where the now CDD building is.
Whose trailer was it?
It was the Gerards, it was part of.
No, that's where Garth's office was, and he was with Davey. It
That was the large dog park,
It
was-
is where that was.
So, it was Gerard and David that utilized both of those spaces. Gerard was
Gerard and
closest
Davey,
to where
okay,
the
thank
CDD building is now. The key to this, though, is that we looked at fencing this in. The old property was just out in the open because nothing else was back there, so I don't think there was as much concern of the aesthetics. But they worked with TCC to get approval on this and to have the fencing and the buffer there so that it's not out in the open, the screening, so that it wouldn't be seen.
So TCC has actually approved this?
They did, and they actually approved it as part of the conceptual design for what that utilization would be on the civic corridor, and then they've approved this new design also.
They have.
Have you all heard this before? I'm sorry.
Say it again.
This is the first time I'm hearing of this that I know of.
Yeah, this was listed
Yeah.
as a workshop
We have a
item, which we
workshop,
never
yes.
got to.
We never
So that was the
workshop.
first we
So
heard
that's
of it,
where I'm gonna go with
2 or
this.
3 weeks ago.
Can we move it to workshop?
We did not, we did
No,
not
I
get
don't
to
mean
it.
to
cut you off.
cover it.
We did not
I
cover
just
it,
like
but
to
that was
talk
the
about
first
it.
we as a board heard of it.
Yeah, and I mean, to follow up on Kevin, because we didn't workshop it, what's the justification? What's the reason that we want to have these?
Well, the purpose of it is, currently, we as the maintenance department have no area to put any landscape debris when we do leaves and things like that. So we don't want to just sit a dumpster out on the road. So we need a place to put a dumpster. The landscape companies, Yellowstone as well as New Leaf and the CDD have come to us requesting areas. So if you see the street sweeper drive around, he's dumping the leaves in a dumpster right along the road. We want to get that off the road behind, a screen fenced area. And so we've been working on this for about a year now, trying to get some details out to where it wouldn't cost CROA any out-of-pocket money. We would have the landscape companies donate the fence, donate the landscaping, donate the irrigation, donate the concrete approach coming into the area, and a whole strict list of rules, so it doesn't turn out to be a dump pile like we've had in the past.
Yeah.
Conceptually, I have no problem with it. Do you have a picture of what it would look like? Or I didn't see one.
I think I emailed you attachment A.
You did? When?
With.
Well, I didn't
Can you
see-
call it up, Steve, if we got
I didn't
attachment
get
A?
I did not, I asked for attachment A, and I did
Well,
not see it.
I'm just wanting to see a picture.
Yeah, yeah.
I understand the concept of why you want it.
A 6-foot-tall black chain link perimeter fence?
Correct.
I'd like to workshop this if we can.
I would too, yeah, and I'd like to speak with the garden club members and make sure they know that
So,
our chance of a
it's good
garden is
company.
probably out.
Well, actually, no, Debbie, let me correct you on that, and we can talk about it in the workshop, but this is only half of the lot that's in between the two,
Yeah.
so.
Well, let me
I
also
wanna
say
walk out there and
for
see the whole thing.
for the asset, though, that it's an open piece of land, it was not conceptually approved as a community garden. There was conversation about it, but I think the community garden and whatever else the community is asking for in the needs will come up through the needs assessment and parks.
So we'll see how that bubbles to the
We'll see
needs
what
assessment.
comes up, right?
But is this using the entirety
No,
of that
no,
open
half
space?
an hour.
I think that's why I wanted to see that's why I want to see a picture of.
Conceptually, I'm not
in a
having a
map
problem with it.
schematic.
I'd just like to see how it lays on the land and what it looks like.
Well,
Because I'm assuming it's in the back with a fence that looks nice and.
Right next to the CDD's
Well,
fence.
I don't think that it's mission critical that it has to be approved tonight. If
It
you
does
all
not.
would like to do
Could we-
this in the
could we take
workshop
some time?
session.
Yeah,
if I
let's do
would-
the workshop. And just to clarify, there's a dollar figure from each of these three entities in here that
We'll cover the
is
expense, right?
covered, but then they deduct whatever, because you said they're putting the fence in, so they're going to
Right.
deduct the cost of putting the fence in. or the
Initially, they'll
concrete.
recoup their costs.
They'll recoup their costs.
For putting the assets
So
in.
it'll basically be a no net cost.
Motion to table for the workshop.
So,
there's been a motion.
so we have a motion and a second on the floor.
I want to motion, if I can, please, a motion to table it with what we're doing in the workshop is we actually want to see a picture of the land where the fence would be, so that almost like when you talk about your flyover, we can just sit there and say, okay, we get what it looks like and what it's going to be.
I'd like a drone to fly over with the March of the Valkyries.
Yeah.
playing
I'm gonna send that drone
behind it.
What kind of music would you like in the background?
So Todd,
Something
with
puts us to sleep.
some of the other things you presented months ago, you would show a schematic of what the new,
Be more than happy to.
so a schematic and then also a plot, a land plot, because you've said
Yeah.
half the property.
But does everybody agree what we're really talking about here is just wanting to see a picture where it's at on the land, so
Yeah.
we just understand what we're approving?
Conceptually, the need is there, but
Yes.
we want to see more.
Right, yeah, I'd also
Be more
like
than
to-
happy to
So
discuss
who
it.
made the
Discussion
motion?
with residents.
Jack made the motion and Vaughn seconded.
No, I made the
Vaughn is,
motion.
Jack,
Oh, you
what do
made
you
the
think?
you made the motion?
you made the motion?
I just said.
This is why we have
I
Rachel.
thought you
guys.
seconded.
I said a motion to table this till the next
All right.
workshop.
The person who made the motion needs to table.
So are we okay
get a
to,
second, that's
as a
fine.
group, are okay to table this to the next workshop?
So only Vaughn first, some of, Jack, did you second?
I thought I did.
Okay, Jack.
Table all items 9, 10, and 11.
Tabling 9, 10, 11 for workshop. Okay, thank you. Item 12, motion to approve.
We got to vote.
All in favor, aye.
All in favor, thank you.
Aye.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank
Okay,
you.
motion carries. Item 12, motion to approve the interior renovation of the lakeside facility for an amount not to exceed $36,599 from CROA replacement reserve expenditure.
I haven't
We
seen
have
these
need a
plans.
motion?
Yeah, we got to,
Do we
yeah.
have a motion?
A motion to discuss? Yeah, I'll make a
I'll
motion.
second.
Okay.
So Debbie and then Kevin seconds.
Yeah, I haven't seen, unless I missed a workshop, and I don't think I did, I haven't seen these plans.
No.
Did I-
It's
did I
tile
miss the plan?
changes, it's,
Actually, we did discuss it at the March,
We discussed
not
it,
the
yeah.
March, in the March and the December, was it,
November.
workshop?
Yeah.
But we didn't see the plan, we
We
talked
did
about
the
it. we didn't see the
workshop, we
plans.
showed you the ugly women's restroom colors
Oh,
and
that's
tile,
right.
stuff
We
like
did look at
that.
that.
have you, yeah.
The Celia McFadden special? She probably
We did
before us if
look at that.
corrected this.
Right, so,
See, I remember.
Wasn't it for this restroom?
no, Lakeside.
No, we did Lakeside.
It was definitely Lakeside. I don't believe
The
you
other
were there.
restroom.
Here,
Have
I
you
was out.
picked a tile?
Right.
I saw the price list. Have you picked everything out, all the materials?
Yes,
Tile.
so the tile we're looking at for the Jones room, currently it has bamboo.
Same in the other.
Bamboo,
Closet.
back in the day, was the biggest fad and, you know, sustainable, and it just doesn't hold up to Irish dancers. So it's in need of replacement. So there's tile currently that looks like wood planks that's in the kitchen of the Jones room. We just want to continue that on out. And we've based it on a square foot price from other projects, and we haven't decided on a installer yet, but we've been looking at room and decor, I think, floor and decor. Floor and decor.
We were supposed to
Sorry, floor
go.
and decor.
We were supposed to go. Come on. That was part of our plans.
Let's go, road trip. So, to save some cost there, but everything will be, you know, professionally installed and renovated. So, the smaller numbers that we're looking at for things like base trim, hardware, for the restrooms, that would be our staff going in and pulling the toilets out and the partition walls, so the flooring contractor can get in and pull floors up and put new floors down, and then we put them back. So, minimal cost, and we did the not to exceed number just to keep it moving forward while the whole
Right.
facility shut down.
What's
Just a
your
question,
time?
if you guys pull the plumbing and reinstall it, and you're not a licensed plumber, and we had a plumbing issue with water, or is our insurance void? Brian, that's a question for you too.
It's handyman, basic handyman work.
Yeah, it's a typical everyday item that we do. When a toilet's
Yeah.
broken, we fix it. So pulling a toilet doesn't require a plumber's license. We're not doing any changes to the existing plumbing system.
What's your timeline? If it
Our
was approved
timeline
today.
is real tight. We're working around the marathon, Posh Pooch, and
How long is it gonna take?
something else. It'll be hit and miss on, we're going to be doing the Jones room. That'll take about a week. We'll have the restrooms down for another week. But it'll be varying throughout the month.
And
At the
how-
same time, you're working on the fence, I assume.
Correct.
So the
I
pool's
hope to.
closed because you can't open the pool with the restrooms?
Correct.
Good time.
Okay.
Yes, working around events.
We have a call to
Let's go.
question. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, stay up to the podium, please, Don. Motion to approve the replacement of fences at Lakeside Pool and Playground by Allstate Fence and Rail, the amount of $56,283.
So
Road
moved.
replacement reserve.
Moved.
That was from Jackson, and Jack seconded.
I do have
Discussion, we had
one-
this workshopped in December.
I have one question. It does say that the last bid did not provide by the deadline. What was the deadline? I'm just nosy on this one because we get things last minute all the time, and with that big of a gap.
No, there
I'd
was
be
about a
curious
week
if
and a
it's
half that we'd asked them to get proposals to us. I set my deadlines for when the board reports due, and I typically squeak past that a little bit. Thank you, Susan.
Did they ever get it to you?
No, they never
even-
did.
got
But I
called
did
off,
get
okay.
one from Osceola Fence who had put in our dumpster gate down at Heritage Hall, Spring Park. Theirs came in $55,430. However, we've had issues with,
Yeah.
no offense to them, but they haven't been real responsive. I think they're having some management issues, and we don't want to get caught up in that. Therefore, we've requested all states.
So Todd, when you originally sent out this when you do an RFP, you send it out to how many vendors typically?
We sent it out to 4 this time.
4?
Yes.
Okay. So when you do an RFP for any new vendor, you typically would send out something on, like an email, or do you send out a packet?
Yeah, it's emailed. We send them our specifications that we desire the project to be, a timeline, and just the specs like black fence, powder coated, has to meet pool code.
Okay.
That's
And
the
I know
next
it's
thing I
up
wanted
for-
to, sorry, that's the next thing I wanted to do. Make sure it gets ran by ARC because you're changing from a brown fence to a black fence.
We are, and it's in ARC right now, and it's next Monday or Tuesday?
Sorry.
Monday.
Pending their approval?
No, and I think ARC approval obviously is very important.
Yes, it
I know
is.
it's a replacement reserve expense, and if we have that in there, but it's, $56,000. Could the fence not be anything? We don't have any other parts, like the company went out of business, like what? And I know we received a complaint from a resident about it, but
Sure.
how long has this been in the works? Like,
This was actually supposed to be replaced per the reserve study in 2017. As you know me, I don't always just jump at what the reserve study says.
Right.
If we can squeak a few more years out of it, we always try to. The issue we have now is mainly the playground fence.
Right.
It was a fastened construction instead of welded, and we've gotten tons of cell service issues with that, with it breaking. The fence around the pool, it is a welded type material, which is what we've spec'd this time as well. It's just faded, degraded, and not celebration standards, so we want
so
to get it
when we
updated.
do this, are we getting a couple spare parts for those ones that just break over and over and over? So
We're hoping it doesn't break. We don't have that many issues breakage-wise with the one around the pool because they are welded. It's
It's
a
the
much better
playground I
system.
worry about, yeah.
The playground, yes. So if it's welded, we should not have issues with it. It doesn't fall apart and screws don't pop loose.
Any further discussion on this? Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 14, motion to approve the replacement of Savannah Square irrigation controllers by New Leaf Landscaping and Property Services. Amount $38,1720, Savannah Square Service Area Replacement Reserve.
So moved.
Thank you, Jack. And
I'll
is that
second.
Vaughn?
Yes, I'll second.
It could be.
It is
So
now.
Vaughn seconded, thank you.
So in the reserve
Not to put words in
study,
your mouth.
about every 3 to 4 years, they have the irrigation controllers for the service area scheduled for replacement. They're due after this time. We had some in the last one, I think, for Golden Aster. As far as Savannah goes, there was 4 scheduled to be done, but 4 more have broken. So that's why there's 8 on here. There is room in the reserve for them. They are upgraded to freeze and rain sensors, so, and the latest kind of technology.
As we think about, Susan, Steve, the irrigation project that you are moving in on, would these be an intelligent acquisition? Would that, remember how we
Yes,
had the irrigation thing we talked about?
Yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna start replacing things, why are we spending this money?
So,
That's-
are you talking about the smart system that they're
Yeah.
using? Okay, so we've discussed that, Todd, and also the landscapers. When those systems are more practical for a large area, when you have these controllers just, they control just a backyard, a courtyard. So to spend that kind of money on a small area is not as
So
economical.
they're mutually exclusive, that's the
Yeah,
answer.
there's different,
It's not going to be a waste
it's a
of.
different kind of system, yeah.
Call the question,
I
all
just
in
put one in my
favor?
house that does it.
All in favor? Aye. Any
My house
opposed?
does that.
Motion carries.
So these have nothing to do with those, I think Todd had showed us on that tour, the units that were in North Village. Remember, we were talking about splitting off from CCDD?
Yes, correct.
This is nothing to do
No,
with this?
nothing to do.
Is it the same type of thing are we gonna be doing those up there?
Oh, we hope to be. That's still in the works.
Okay.
We've
So-
got a conference call this week.
Yes, we do.
Item 15, motion to approve the repair of the destructive testing repairs by Performance Roofing. 3 amounts, they're listed on the board. $8,900, $2,900, and $2,900.
Motion to approve?
Debbie, motions to approve.
Second.
Jackson seconds. Discussion.
Okay, so this is in conjunction with an engineering report that we talked about today. When they did the destructive testing to do his report, they needed a roofer to actually do the manual labor. Performance Roofing did that, and they picked 2 units from each service area, which is why it's divided equally, although I know we talked earlier about proportionately, there are different sized service areas.
So the engineering firm actually did this, the testing, the actual testing for these?
Yeah, they're the brains, not that the roofers aren't smart, but, the engineer are looking into the way it's constructed and looking at the flashing. Performance came out there and actually did the water testing and replaced shingles afterwards, took them apart, the physical part of it.
Thank you.
Kevin?
My only question would be, is it fair to split it, amongst the 3 of them and divide it by 3, or do you charge per unit?
So I just said that on
That's-
each service area, they did tested 2 units on each one, so that's why there were 6.
Okay, we were all looking at each other. for
So it
something else.
got, it just got divided equally.
Because it's Jack's called the question. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 16, motion to approve the change order for replacement of rotten wood during roof replacement by Performance Roofing, amount of $75.93. Roseville Corner Replacement Reserve.
Motion approved.
Motion from Debbie. Second from is Vaughn.
So this is in conjunction with the roof replacement for Roseville Corner. If you recall at the time, there was wood soffits that had wood damage that needed to be repaired. And of course, you don't really know what you're going to have until you open up those front porch roofs. So the proposal was a price per linear foot. So when it was all done, we had the correct linear feet, and of course, we went back and checked and had a little bit extra, so that's why this is coming later. So it's the final price ended up being this amount.
My typical question, are they replacing it with the PVC or what?
No, it was wood.
Has to be wood?
Well, it was already wood, so to take it was just pieces of it, so otherwise it would have been a total replacement, much more expensive. So this was just treating wood that needed to be replaced, and then we did put a primer on it to protect it.
Okay, because they are doing wood beams, and they're doing part of it with PVC, and they're doing a blend, and you can't even see it.
Yeah, maybe on some areas. I think in this, we were replacing like with like to have it blend together and look the best it could.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 17, motion to approve to initiate the funding process for 46 non-compliance items through notification of the Covenants Committee meeting to confirm or reject the fine. Thank you, Jack.
It's down to 30.
It's been revised to
34.
34.
I do have.
34, so Jack has,
I'll second.
do you need this?
And I did want to go ahead and just have one
So,
comment.
Kevin is the second.
Yeah, I'll second. Is the house that we've talked about,
That was voted on last time, but they'll be on the agenda already.
they'll be, okay,
So what'd you say?
We voted on that already.
so that one's done.
They'll be on the
Because we did it
Covenants agenda?
separately. We pushed for it sooner.
I do
Okay.
have a
Thank
question
you
for Tony. The first one on the list,
Tony.
isn't that house in foreclosure?
Yes, but we can still go after it. It's bankruptcy, we can't go after it.
Okay.
Any discussion?
Call the vote.
Vote's been called. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve to convert 4 fines to specific assessments.
So moved.
Moved by Jack,
Second?
second from Debbie. Discussion.
Call the question.
Call the question. Jack's called the question. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 19, motion to approve 53 CROA intent to lien letters to owners delinquent more than one assessment.
So moved.
That was from Vaughn, I think.
Second.
Second from Brian. Discussion.
Call the question?
Call the question. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion 20, motion to approve 7 service area intent to lien letters to owners delinquent more than one assessment. That was from Vaughn, and Jack is the second.
You act surprised.
What, you got the prize?
Surprised.
Well, it's a year-long compilation. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 21, motion to approve 3 attorney recommended write-offs totaling $5,331.37. Motion from Jack. Second from Vaughn's not going to second. Second from Brian.
I have one question. How, on item 1, how did that happen? How does that not get collected?
I'm pulling it up right now. I believe that action item number 1 is a homeowner that had called and asked us for they had extenuating circumstances.
It's a foreclosure. Are you
But it's a
looking at the right?
capital.
Oh,
How does that not get?
We're in the attorney recommended write-offs.
right.
Yeah.
You're talking about the capital
Yeah.
contribution.
I would guess, I can get the information and send it to you, but the bank sold it to a owner, and
I just don't know how that wasn't collected. I mean, that happens when you
we
purchase.
bill it, and we put it on their account
But they
typically.
paid assessments?
When the bank takes title, we add the capital contribution.
Huh.
And then when they sell it to someone else, we add it. This looks like it's the owner, it's the previous owner that we're writing off, and it was advised by so I would guess that we put it on the account.
Yeah.
Is the new
That
owner
doesn't make
a
sense to me.
corporation or an individual?
I don't know who the new owner is.
But it's still somebody's name.
I can give you all that information, though. But this is recommended by our attorney, Arias Bossinger. So
Well,
let me get you the information. It's not something that we are saying you should write off or has been requested. It's the attorney instructed write-off.
I would ask that we modify the motion and only write off, or only approve items 2 and 3 pending the information on item 1. I share Kevin's concern. It seems
I
like a
agree.
very odd thing to have a write-off for. Should have been collected.
So whomever made the motion,
Did I make that or Vaughn?
And I seconded. I don't know who made
who
the motion.
made that, Rachel?
Not me.
Jack?
I'll modify it. I'll modify it to remove number 1.
Not me.
I agree.
So we're okay? We've modified it to approve only items 2 and 3.
Thank you.
And we'll defer on item 1 pending further information. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Last item, 22, motion to approve 2 fee waiver requests from homeowners in the amount of $35.31.
So moved.
That was Brian, and second by Jackson. Well, Vaughn, did you want that? Okay.
Come on, we're right
Any
on time.
discussion on that?
Nope, all in favor.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Board comments. Thank you all for your service today. We met in executive session from 2 until 20 of 6, and then reconvened here. Thank you for a long and productive day.
I just want to follow up, we are following up about where the tables will be for the garage sale. Also in CCS, we had a request, just following up for that. And thank you for all the volunteers and for everyone that sat through this tonight, and for those of you running for the board. Thanks.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Marathon meeting ends.
I was
6
going
hours.
for an hour. I worked hours.